Happy Friday, everybody. It's good to have you. I'm happy to have you. We're all happy to have you. It's Capes and Cowls. It's the episode of The Big Thing, Capes and Cowls. This is our comic book content show on Fridays with myself, Winston, and Coy. It's my first show back from vacation with people in the studio. I'm excited about that. So we're going to have some conversations today. Man, we got a lot to talk about. We haven't really talked about all the stuff that Zoloft has done. Yeah, I don't call him by his real name. He hasn't earned it yet. So I'll let Winston and Coy do that. I call him Zoloft. So Zoloft did a whole bunch of things. We'll see. I don't even know if the guys agree with me on my take. They might love him. I have no idea. We'll talk about them, talking about him for sure. And it's all relevant because there's so much happening with the Flash. And I talked about that yesterday on The Big Thing, about the 3 potential options of what they're going to do now with Ezra Miller's The Flash. Want to get Coy and Winston's take on what they think about it. Out of those 3 options, maybe they have different options. I'll present mine and see if they agree. Our main thing, as you saw on the topic today, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. That movie's coming out soon, man, and that trailer took down the internet. So the question is, who's going to show up in this? We got theories. Oh, we bullshit. I have no theories. I'm going to listen to the theories, and you guys can say how smart the people I have on the show are. Green Lantern still getting the show, and that's the gist of it. There's going to be so much that we talk about. We'll cover a little bit more, so because again, I didn't get to talk to the guys about the Batgirl stuff, the Supergirl stuff, the HBO Max stuff, all of it. We'll get to that and more. And if you haven't already, if you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe to this channel. Let us know. We're trying to get to 70,000, man. We got a really, really busy week. This is like the calm before the storm. Next week you get, and we're going to talk about She-Hulk, because you get She-Hulk. That's coming out. So we're going to do a little preview of She-Hulk as well on today's show. We got She-Hulk, and then Lord of the Rings, and Game of Thrones, and Andor, and Cobra Kai, and Black Adam, and Black Panther. It doesn't stop starting next week, so we're excited about it. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the numbers keep going up, and that's because of you guys. So make sure you keep doing that. Help us out. Links in the description. All right, let's get to it. It's Capes and Cowls. It's me. It's Coy. It's Winston. Let's do it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Capes and Cowls. We got the man, Coy Jandreau, here. Winston A, Marshall, and me. So it's good to have you guys back.
Yeah, man. Welcome home.
Yeah, it was good. It was relaxing. I was saying on the show yesterday that it was the first time I'm like you guys, where I got to always be working, but I was like, I'm laying by the pool. I'm like, should I make a video? I was like, no, stupid. Just sit in the pool.
You burn out, man. I needed to take a break. Like, I haven't taken time off since February.
Yeah.
And it's starting to, I'm feeling it. Like, I'm winding.
You got to take a break.
You know what I've started doing, though, with my breaks is I'll do light work. So I won't work, but like, for example, because I've been writing a bunch, like I've been working on like a feature and a pilot and a whole bunch of sketches. I'll just take like a notebook and just jot notes down, but I won't like go
That's good for your brain.
You know?
Yeah. My last 48 hours off was February 8th and 9th. And that was the last time I took 2 days off in a row. And like, my body's starting to deteriorate.
But I would assume you might read a comic for fun at that point instead of like reading the stuff you have to read.
I try, but it's hard because as soon as I take time off, like right now I'm 4 weeks behind on comics, so I owe 210 books roughly. So like basically, so if now this week on Wednesday, there's 60 new books coming out, so I'll be at 270 if I take more time off. So basically, like the reason I can't take time off is like it's cumulative, right? Like all the knowledge I need to have, it doesn't go away when I take time off. So when I come back, I'm just doubling down.
Well, that's why I always have so much respect for all the Schmodown competitors who do what they do
full-time.
What they were doing at full time. And speaking of which, to mention, October 1st, which happens to also be my birthday, is the last.
That's bittersweet. That's
I know.
special.
It's the Schmodown Spectacular, and it's going to air on. Well, I can't say where it's going to air yet. And that's probably a little bit of a spoiler. I have a lot of big announcements coming up that I can't. You guys know some of it, but I haven't been able to tell the audience anything yet. I'm hoping to do that sometime next week. That's my goal, to be able to explain a lot of stuff that's going on. And part of that, as I mentioned to you guys, Patreon Patreon.com/Schmodown will be the Patreon for Big Thing overall. So people who are already part of the Schmodown that only want Schmodown content past September 1st, I should tell you should probably drop that because we're transferring over everything Messy and Live, bring it over. There's going to be more rewatches that the three of us will do on Patreon. A lot of that live there. We're still going to do rewatches on this channel, but we also want to make sure that we have enough of it, so we'll be doing it on the on Patreon exclusively as well. There'll be Q&As, there'll be a lot of stuff, and I'm going to be in there so much more and being active with you guys. So there's a lot of big changes coming. That's just one of them. But anyway, let's get into this stuff because there's so much to talk about, and I actually want to start with this whole thing going on. I talked about it yesterday on Big Thing, but I got to get the guys' take on it. All right, so Ezra Miller obviously has been, I feel like, gets in trouble every other Thursday, but they finally arrested Ezra Miller for something. I said it again, guys, yesterday, that this to me is like the Al Capone thing where he did so many crimes that they finally taxes. So they got Ezra Miller for like stealing liquor or something.
Yeah,
it was just a way to go, okay, enough's enough, buddy.
A big enough crime being the small crime,
right? But here's the overall report is that Warner Brothers Discovery has to make moves to do something about Ezra Miller, with 3 options being weighed up at the studio, including potentially scrapping the movie altogether. So the controversy surrounding Ezra Miller continued to mount. It's becoming increasingly apparent that Warner Brothers Discovery needs to do something about The Flash. This is from Comic Book Movie, by the way. This week alone, the actor has been charged with felony amid reports that Child Services are attempting to retire the 3 children of a woman residing at Miller's farm for their own safety. It's obvious the studio can't continue to ignore what's going on with the actor, who uses they, them pronouns. The Hollywood Reporter has now revealed that 3 options are being mulled over. Here it is. The first is that Miller will seek professional help, something the studio has heard could be the case after they return to their farm in Vermont with their mother. From there, the hope is the actor can give a tell-all interview explaining their recent behavior, later doing limited press for the press and avoiding any further negative headlines. The second, if Miller doesn't seek help, the movie could still be released, but the actor would not factor heavily into marketing or publicity. They would also no longer be cast as the Scarlet Speedster, leading to someone else playing Barry Allen in future projects. The third scenario, and this would be a last resort, if things worsen with Miller, The Flash will be scrapped and never released. Miller plays multiple characters and is in nearly every scene, so reshooting their scenes with another actor isn't possible. All right, so much that we don't know where it's going. So
and you saw the Dolly thing, right?
Which yeah, they already pulled. Yeah, but the Dolly's easy to do.
But what's interesting, they just pulled their name. So he's playing Salvador Dali in a movie coming out at Toronto, like film festival, and he's not. They're not in it, but they aren't mentioned in any marketing now.
Well, right. So yeah, and that's the thing. So, and I'm just going to present it and then throw it to you guys because they heard my take on this yesterday. Okay, so the first, my initial thoughts was they're in a lose-lose. No, I'm not a Zoloff fan. I think everything he's doing, his bedside manner is atrocious. I think he's terrible, to be honest. So far, but. Not an easy situation right now because in option 1, Ezra Miller's mom takes him to a seek help. They get help, and they go out and say, okay, I'm better now. I'm doing this. I'm accepting my behavior. Goes out, promotes it, does the movie. Problem with that is same. Look at this. Will Smith. Will Smith goes out, does an announcement. Mm-hmm. Nobody takes him serious. No one says, that's but the reason you did that is this. Right. Same thing's going to happen here with Ezra Miller. The only reason, the difference, and maybe what's the difference between Will Smith and Ezra Miller here? Difference is Will Smith didn't have a $200 million sitting in the can.
Yeah.
Huge.
And Will Smith took the time to process it without having to be told to. This feels like they're literally being instructed. Yeah, and if the writing at THR is like they could, it already feels like a ploy, and that's not a good sign. That's bad optics from the jump.
No,
option one's not
option one. It's like, okay, let's just get the movie out, figure a way to get it out, and then we'll
say you're sorry, and I believe you.
Say you're sorry, and maybe then we can move forward and see how it goes. The problem also with that is, as I said in the beginning, the guy Ezra Miller gets in trouble every Thursday.
In a different state.
So I'm sorry. Oh, I just did it again.
No, but see, I actually tweeted this out as a joke, but I seriously mean this. Ezra Miller is the greatest comic book villain of all time.
Reverse Flash.
Honestly. honestly, because I joke because the other villains we've like actually seen on screen, Thanos, Killmonger, as far as story-wise go, the fact that every single week something happens and nobody is stopping this is insane to me.
Well, remember,
the variety of stories.
Yes, it's again, they don't know what to do because it's okay. So to answer your question, it's not as insane as you think it is because, but you got to think of it not in moral terms of what you should do.
Sure.
Think it in business terms. If I say to you, Winston, me, you, and Coy we made a movie, and it cost us $200 million to make. Okay,
I'm proud of us.
All right, it cost us $200 million to make, and by the way, once we make it, we're going to spend another $150 on marketing.
Right.
So that's about $350 million that we have in the can right now. Okay,
Right.
Coy goes out and gets hammered and does something
Every day.
and
In a different state.
and right
Busy.
and pees on an old lady.
Happens.
And you're like wait a minute, but he's now just doing it all over town, and you're like, what are we gonna do? The guy won't stop peeing on old ladies. and me and you were talking, and everyone starts tweeting at us, what are you doing about Coy? What are you doing about Coy? And we're going, what do we do? Because if we don't address this soon, they're gonna have our heads. Plus, what do we do? We cancel the $200 million movie? What do we do?
So
And this goes on for a year.
More so.
Longer.
More
Longer,
so.
because
Remember,
it started with them choking that lady.
And we
that
don't
was
know.
we don't know what was
We don't
before
know
that.
what that was, but we don't even know what that was.
Right.
And that was in Iceland?
But that was never addressed by him. That's the crazy part.
That
is
should have been the start.
The addressing, that never addressing it, I agree with you, is crazy. But the understanding of like, what the hell do we do?
And the videos are really oddly disconcerting. Like all the videos where they pop up and they intimidate and threaten civilians.
If this is a 20, if this is a 30, listen, if this is a $30 million movie, this movie is
it does not exist. But this is the tentpole of DC that's left.
Right.
Because they haven't finished Aquaman yet.
Right.
They haven't finished Black Adam is a Rock movie, not a DC movie.
Well, that's the
and
problem.
Shazam is very intentionally a smaller film, which I think is a
Right.
benefit.
Yes.
I personally think Shazam being now when I say mid-budget, I mean mid-budget for tentpole. I'm not saying it's mid-budget, but a mid-budget tentpole film is, I think, one of the best assets to Shazam. You've got the Rock movie, which can be huge. You've got the Shazam movie, which can be mid-budget. One of the things I liked about the first one. Aquaman isn't done yet, but it made $1 billion.
Yeah.
Their big tentpole is arguably this movie going forward. They can't not release this.
Right. Well, this is the problem. So I want to get back. I want to throw this to Winston after I bring this up because
I'm still in the run.
Well, this is the part of Zaslav, right? So Zaslav is out there talking about everything that he's done so far to me in the last week and a half has been wrong.
It's been completely wrong.
Now we'll get into the Batgirl conversation about why you cancel the movie. If you decide you want to cancel that movie because it's not a good movie, it's your business. You can do what you want. But to say basically in a business jargon, the movie stinks and we don't respect it and we think it stinks, you're slapping everybody in the face.
So many artists.
That's part one. But then he goes out and goes, guess what we're going to do? I'm bringing Alan Horn in because he's the guy who was responsible for Marvel.
Right. Not Kevin Feige.
We're going to bring him. He mentioned Feige, him and Feige and Iger, but Alan Horn is a Hall of Fame executive. There's no doubt about it. But nonetheless, we're going to bring him in. And we're doing a 10-year plan with Marvel. Never mind the fact that I said we're going to put out Joker and the Batman and all that stuff. Never mind that. We're putting out a 10-year plan, and the Flash is still coming out. He said that. He said, and we like it. We might do some changes to it, but we like it. It's coming out. And then he gets arrested, or Ezra Miller gets arrested
Within a week.
Within a week, and then it's like, oops. Shut up, Zoloff. Don't talk. Don't say nothing. And because now what Zoloff has done is saying this is going to be a 10-year plan, and it starts with the Flash. Because the problem is, what are you going to do if you pull this movie? We're still in option one here about him going and you have Miller. So let's go with you, Winston. So Miller, start with option one.
Sure.
You put Miller in. He goes through the training. He decides he wants to do it. He apologizes. Comes out. Says okay, everything's good. Does all the interviews. Does limited press. They're still part of the DCEU, and then you just cross your fingers that that they're never going to mess up again. Good option?
No.
Sounds good, huh?
No. I honestly think the best option is option 2.
Okay, let's go into option 2. Option 2 is
you leave Ezra alone. They do no press,
and then you recast. So you basically do Bruce Banner it.
More or less, and I would even say this. I know that they and by they I mean Warner this time. I know that they are saying that we've already dumped $200 million into this, so we don't really have anything else. Real talk. If Grant Gustin, I know he's tired. It's been 9. He's about to do season 9 series finale of The Flash. If he's interested in jumping to the movie star status, then put a post-credit scene because it's a Flashpoint.
And it's already canon. We've seen it in the show.
We have seen it. If that's the case, then all of a sudden now that's the face of the Flash, and you move on going forward if that's what Grant is interested in. If he's not, fine, do it some other way. It doesn't matter. And I cannot imagine that doing a post-credit reshoot of the recast costs more than maybe $5 to $10 million. And if you've already dumped 200 into this, like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
You've now absolved yourself of all of this nonsense that Ezra Miller has given you, and you move on. Because I agree with you. I don't think option 1 works because I don't believe at this point that Ezra Miller means it.
It doesn't seem like it. And even if they did mean it, I don't think they'd be able to control their behavior. It doesn't seem like right now. Because I was the one saying, listen, I don't know Ezra Miller, but we should say this person needs help. And I still feel that way.
Yeah. No matter what they do, I think Ezra should.
I still feel that way. But I think that we're at a point, $200, $300, $400 million, you gotta let Ezra Miller go away, one way or another.
I personally would go with option 2, and I would make it very clear. The tricky thing is we're in this industry about as deep as it gets with commentary and with the things, short of writing, which you're also doing, but short of being the people making this stuff, we know more than most folk.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know how many people in the middle of other jobs, the middle of other jobs, the middle of other careers care.
Right.
I don't know how much they care
they're
about.
even locked into this or know anything about
it. We know about Ezra Miller because we're plugged in. I don't know how much they know or care.
I would say anybody that genuinely cares about these movies.
No. That knows about this.
But I'm saying like the hardcore fans.
Oh, 100%.
There's no way.
But that's this much the iceberg. I'm talking about the iceberg. I don't know how much Warner Brothers cares about us because we're all going to be talking about it. We're doing it right now.
Right. Like that
is already a thing.
So people like my friend back home goes and sees every comic book movie. Does not know what's going on with this.
And that's what I'm saying is like those people.
It's the hardcore.
You know the thing that I think would be interesting, and it's going to tie into what we're about to talk to with Batgirl.
Yeah.
I would make the argument that any group, you're right about maybe like middle America or just like white folk that just living their life.
Just people that see movies.
But I'm telling you, I have had random black folk that don't give a goddamn about
because it is above normal.
Well, they're like, wait, you're canceling Batgirl with like
no, but you're still talking about people who there are still people, dude. I'm telling you, like you don't. What Coy's saying is 100% accurate.
No, I know.
But wait. We're in such a bubble. There are people who don't even know Batgirl got canceled.
People didn't know Batgirl was getting made.
Exactly. Like we are in this.
So it's hard for us to look out.
It also shows you. I was in Florida. Okay, like California is in such a bubble of everything. I'm very proud to be. I like to live here. Everything too. But we are living on another planet when it comes to what we think is happening. And I'm telling you, like, the normal world does not know what the hell's going on with Ezra Miller. I'm telling you.
I understand what you're saying. What I'm trying to tell you is specifically that, like, black folk, Latino folk, like, around, of course, someone that's like, whatever, it's on the screen, fine. But anybody that's remotely, because of stuff like Will Smith.
Because it's above and beyond.
You're literally seeing a situation where you had, like, a person of color, did something effed up, and rightfully so got punished for it. But then you end up in a situation where it's like, okay, wait a minute, this dude is committing multiple crimes.
Right. So I see what you're saying. So he's starting to be used as an example to also for people. So for people who are not in this business, they're still paying attention to social media to say, well, wait a minute, if Will Smith got this punishment, how come this person isn't? And then the person who's not watching movies a lot goes, wait, what's going on now?
So I'd say that's another 10%. So we're still talking like 10% of us, 10% of people that are learning about it, and then 80% of people that don't care, they just want to see the Flash movie. And my concern is this Zoloft is looking at the overall market as a businessman. Everything we've heard from him is very like business, black and white, this. I think he's going to look at the 80% bottom line because of everything we've heard so far. He might not care about optics.
Of course he doesn't. Because
if he cared about optics, he would have been like,
I haven't even got an option for you. That's my option, right? And but option 3 is scrap the movie. You can't do that.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about
million.
But what's interesting is I like some of, and I don't know Zaslav. I don't know what his long-term goals are except for his ideal 10-year plan. But what's interesting to me is I don't disagree with some of the things they need to do.
Right.
It's just the expression you use, bedside manner.
That's it.
So, because I see why he inherited a deficit, a problem, but I think the way he's talking about art as content, there's a huge difference between entertainment and content.
If we don't like it, we're scrapping it. And then he gives this fake ruse of because the fans deserve better. And
that feels disingenuous, just like an Ezra Miller apology would.
Right. And that's the whole thing. It's like Winston came in before and said, we were talking about Zoloff cutting everything. And I said, I don't really look, if Warner Brothers says we looked at because the thing is, yes, does it suck that we had this Latino actress who has this lead role and apparently was really good in the role? Mm-hmm. And does it suck that she got this stripped away from her? Yes, of course it does. But we also don't know. What if this movie was Catwoman Part 2 and it was that bad? Now, the argument is, well, they released Catwoman. Different time. If they look at it and they go, this movie is so bad, we don't even want to put it on HBO Max. Now, to not even put it on HBO Max, I don't know.
But you don't make any money for it on HBO Max.
I know. Well, you could get subscribers because maybe the interest behind it.
But the tax break. So a Catwoman was coming out when the studio was whole.
Right.
This is a rare opportunity for a major company to get a tax write-off because of an acquisition.
Yes.
If you inherit something while you're taking over a company and you get it never sees the light of day, if they released it on HBO Max, they wouldn't get that money. Exactly. If they released it on YouTube, they wouldn't get that money.
So it makes sense why they did it. Business-wise, it makes.
But I hate that because it's art.
I know. But it makes. But you can understand. But again, it goes back to the bedside manner. It's then coming out and saying, we're not making anything that stinks, because that's pretty much what he said.
Bad optics.
So here's the other thing that he should have done, and that's part of the problem. Fine, you want to cancel it because the movie is really bad? Okay, you better have a goddamn backup plan as to what you're going to do, because what that looks like.
He says he does.
But then you need to announce it.
But he thinks he did. He thinks with that 10-year plan, he thinks he told you what it is.
Hell no.
I know that.
You better tease that shit because
then Supergirl gets canceled also, or now they said it's just pushed back and develop it a little bit more, right? And there's other things, but they said that James Gunn's thing's still safe.
Peacemaker's good.
And they said Blue Beetle's still safe.
Yeah, which that's my big weight. Like Blue Beetle's
huge. because the stuff that's in development, he can have a control of and say, okay,
right,
like this
change
is
this.
Move stuff around, and make it fit our plan. So I get that. Again, it's just the way that he's been handling stuff. And then the HBO Max thing, I said up top, I was like, they're canceling HBO Max. I was like, they're not canceling it. They're just taking Discovery and putting it in there. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, wait, they're trying to fix something that's not broken.
They're already pulling movies.
And
right. That's what I mean.
But that's what I'm saying.
Their 30 to 45 day window is gone now.
Which is stupid. And that's dumb. The fact that you pulled random movies off of HBO Max without any warning, at least tell somebody if something like that's going on. But again, let's say you throw up Batgirl and everybody has said that she has been phenomenal in the role. At least announce, look, the movie isn't working out, but Leslie is so amazing. We have stuff for her in the future.
They did. They did say
WB did?
They specifically said that Leslie has got.
I don't know if Warner Brothers specifically said it, but from the reports that everyone was saying that from people involved in the Warner Brothers system was that they looked at it, thought she was phenomenal, and but the movie itself was goffish. And that's but again, no one specifically from Warner Brothers said it, but that's what the reports.
I would have loved to have heard an official statement. Right. Hey, unfortunately, this film doesn't.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I also would have loved to have heard about the director's work, because the directors, I enjoyed the hell in Miss Marvel, and I think it looks really bad that these directors coming off a major win are then getting shelved and everything else, because it was Brendan Fraser's comeback movie, which everyone's excited about. It's Michael Keaton back as Batman.
Brendan Fraser was in
Firefly.
Oh,
he was the bad guy, dude.
I didn't know he was Firefly.
See, the fact that the movie was this far done, and then
Doom Patrol, but he was voiceover.
Like I love Doom Patrol, but I want to see.
No, he was also in The Affair.
Oh, that's
smaller. That's right.
Yeah, like you know what I mean. This was I wanted a toy of Brendan Fraser. So you know what I mean. Like and so between all of those ingredients, you needed a statement that says we were very excited about the director's work. We were very excited about Leslie Grace. Yeah. I needed something that was about apologizing for scrapping it.
Bro, it would literally be like if a doctor came into a situation, a brand new doctor, you had somebody else, you're dealing with like a life-threatening disease, and they walk in and they go, well, we're just going to cut everything off, and, we got a plan, but good luck.
In 10 years.
In 10 years.
And what's hard for me is like they're in the perfect storm, right? They're getting rid of a movie that the people that were invested in it are very excited about, but other people might not have heard of. So I could see how they'd write that off both literally and mentally. And then they've also got a very tricky PR standpoint where people are in danger, it sounds like, which is not healthy to have to deal with. Right. And that's not really fun for anyone to inherit.
They inherited a mess. And here's what we can all agree on, because we've seen it a million times. And I'll be the first to say it as well, as much as I'm giving Zoloff shit. If this 10-year plan works out and it saves the studio and whatever he decides to do with The Flash turns out to be the decision, you're going to hail this guy as one of the best executives of all time. Although it was a rough start. Yeah. And he didn't come in too hot, but look at the moves that he made.
And I want that for DC.
I think that's what he is hoping for and understands, because he's running it like the president of a country, is what he's doing. Right. He's running it like these types of decisions, and in the manner he's doing it is very similar to when you watch politics. It looks very similar, and what I will give him credit on is that he's got a plan and he's doing what he wants to do. You might not like it. I don't like what he's doing, and the 30 to 45 day is a big argument, because I've seen a lot of people.
Can you explain that? What change happened?
So 30 to 45 day window for what was so special about HBO Max was when a lot of these movies, like Top Gun's still not out.
Right, Paramount.
It's still not out.
There's no streamers, what I'm saying. Paramount Plus doesn't have that yet because they don't have that window.
But there's no window, and it's also because they wanted to leave it in theaters. Right. And I understand that argument, but one of the main reasons the first reason HBO Max got so many people to join was because of the day of release in theaters and then the day of release on HBO Max. I get why you cancel that.
Of course.
I understand that. That was a pandemic specific thing. So once people start going to the theaters, I don't like it, because I like watching movies at the comfort of my own home right away like everybody else, but I get it. And the 30-45 day. And people who argue that, it's 30-45 day, you can go see it in the theater then. They don't have children. So one of the main reasons and why HBO Max is so attractive to people with children is that if a movie comes out that like Elvis, Elvis was the one that was just canceled on the 30 to 45 day. My wife has been dying to see this movie. She can't see it because she's with my kids. I saw it because I did it for a screening.
Right.
She wants to see it. And now it's like, okay, she got to wait more. And then more movies come out, more TV shows come out, and it starts to get buried a little bit more, and you got to wait for it. But it's like, that movie's still in the theaters is what people say, but still...
But you're exactly right. Who has the time, on top of the fact that if you go and look at box office, that drop-off is crazy. Unless you are a Top Gun, it's not still pulling in that kind of money.
That's the argument. People are making a Top Gun argument. Well, look at what Top Gun is.
That's the exception.
It's a unicorn.
That's like being
just past Titanic.
Bro, that's literally being like, hey, my son is real good at dribbling. He going to be LeBron James.
Right.
No.
And they said,
LeBron James is LeBron James.
Once in a generation movie.
Right. And the way those people are arguing is, well, wait a minute. If they would have put it on streaming after 30, 45 days, it would have made that money. Again, unicorn, because it's one of those things, like if it's one of these movies that is making a lot of money, and Elvis, Elvis being an example, if Elvis was making like so much money still and up there like with like Titanic, and they said, all right, we're holding back on the 30 to 45 day, I go, I get it.
I think it should be case by case.
It should be case by case. I think they said it was going to be. I think that they did say it was going to be, but I mean, I don't know. I think that it's also one of the reasons people sign up for HBO Max. It's certainly one of the reasons.
I think show business, it sucks, but it is a business.
And it's evolving.
And it is changing every day, because this is a new frontier. But if you've got $100 million movie, you're not going to make that back in HBO Max. I don't care how many subscribers you have. No. If you're paying $6 a month for a service, or I don't know what it costs,
you're going to make it back in the theater.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it should be a case-by-case conversation with, hey, if we don't drop off a certain amount, or if we're making more than $10 million a week.
I would have waited until next year, though, when it starts all over, and they go, okay, look, this is here's what we did for 2021. Here's what we did for 2022. 2023,
we're adjusting as time evolves.
Right.
Or even if you want to do that, maybe push the window. So instead of 30 to 45, call it an even 60. It's 2 months.
I think they are doing that.
Or maybe
60's long. 60.
It's 2 months.
But also maybe like a 10-day pay-per-view, something that you could access the movie from your home.
That's what Disney did for a while. But I don't like that. That has been a model. I don't like that, because it's, for me, it's like, well, why do I have your service? And I also have to put more money on it.
Because for them make the movie money back.
I know, I get it.
So then they're already tiering these out anyway. Make it a tier that instead of paying 15, you're paying 20 a month, and now you get those pay-per-view
45 days,
and then whatever, do what you want.
Yeah, maybe there's an
and that way you feel good about you've paid for it, it's done.
Well, that's what I mean. But then there's also other things that are being cut. Like HBO Max is not done with the news that's going to come out. There's going to be more. I just thought HBO Max to me was one of my favorite.
It was too. It was blockbuster and new stuff.
I feel like they're just
that back catalog is one of the best, if not the best.
What's wild to me, and I love that John Oliver already went at their throat for this, but HBO has been like, the name has been synonymous with just killing it. You know what I'm saying? Right. They have a very strict rule of
it's not TV, it's HBO.
Exactly. They don't put anything out second. If somebody else is working on a similar type of project and they get it out first, they're like, then it's done. We don't care.
Exclusive comedy shows, they're very them.
Very similar to the way Disney will. Disney will work on something for 5 years, and if it doesn't hit their quality, they go, we'll scrap it. So for them all of a sudden to be so off, just off base.
Well, it's not all of a sudden though, because it's this guy has only been in power for a little bit. Yeah. So it's not all of a sudden. It's like the stuff I've always been saying about him that I understand is that he inherited a mess. Now,
across the board, or specifically DC?
Well, I don't know about the other movies, but DC for sure. I mean, you look at.
I'll give you DC,
but that's. I mean, that's a big part of their business.
I know.
Right?
I know. Now, but I'm saying now you're effing up HBO too. That's the other thing that's scary.
True. Now, but the thing is, whatever his plan might be, it's just not all. It's not all of a sudden when if you come in and if you made your money off Discovery, right? Discovery's ready, and it's like, okay, I want to build that up, and I want to start to try to push that. Now, again, his right to try to figure out if that's going to work. I think, well, it's the same way that Disney puts in the National Geographic in their thing. If that's the case, if it's HBO Max, that's not what I'm hearing is happening, though.
I'm worried that we're hearing so many different things from so many different directions. Instead of addressing it, we're hearing word of mouth. Like, they're getting rid of 70% scripted content. I keep hearing numbers that are like, who said this? And what scares me is, like, Discovery makes a lot of money because it costs $7 to make one of those shows. And people rewatch them for, like, years. It's just like, throw a camera on this guy building a house, and then the house falls apart in a week. That's not...
But that's the other bedside...
That's content, not art.
Right. But here's the other bedside manner part of it that I was talking to Winston about before you got here, and I talked about it yesterday, which is bad. But look, you know what he also did? He released a graphic that said
women like Discovery
but he said HBO Max is for the dudes, and then Discovery is for the women. Now, but here's the thing: if you look, we all have channels, and we all can see our demographics. And I said this yesterday: this channel, our audience is predominantly male because of what we talk about, right? That does not mean that women don't like it.
Right.
It means that for the audience that we're reaching, dudes, there's a lot of women that comment on these videos. There's a lot of women who are very passionate about it. So I'm not saying that they can't say, Zoloft goes, all right, guys, listen.
Show me the number.
Right, but if Zoloft goes in and says, look, here's our numbers. It looks like this is heavily male audience, right? Let's be aware of that. Don't release that.
Yeah,
don't say
of
that
all the things to release.
HBO Max,
but also not having an event diagram, having separate.
Right. I understand when Spike TV did it. I get it. Back in the
Man
day.
Show?
Right.
Are you saying the Man Show?
Right. No. I get that, but if you're on top of that, if you're going to do that, don't just say male skew, female skew. If you do that, say HBO Max, we find that it's 55% men watching and 45% women. For Discovery, it's 60% women and 40% male. If you do that, then at least I'm looking at an actual hard number and not just women watch shows with houses.
And make it a Venn diagram. Make it a Venn diagram so at least our subconscious is like, they are acknowledging that I like some stuff women enjoy.
That's the point, is the bedside manner of it all. It played wrong. I again understood what they were trying to do. Here's our numbers. This is what we found is more, but it's like, no, of course you're going to piss somebody off. Some people who are hardcore fans, and think about someone like Amy.
Yeah,
Amy Dallin, who's sitting there and going, okay, I wonder what they're going to do.
Life.
Yeah,
Amy loves this stuff more than life.
And Amy's sitting there, and they go, "Oh no, Amy, HBO Max is not for you. Discovery is. Go watch the
Lions show, Amy Dallin."
Dude, yeah. It's funny. My dad. There's this book that he's always talking about. It's about the different ways of like leadership.
Yeah.
And it's charisma based, intelligence based, name based, and money based. And they talk a lot about with like presidents of the United States why they get elected and stuff like that. So a lot of talk was talking about how Al Gore would have actually been a really great president, but his charisma sucks. Yeah. Like real talk, he doesn't know how to talk to people.
Right. That's why TV back in the early '60s. That's why
that Kennedy debate, the Nixon Kennedy debate, people in the room versus people watching on TV. Huge moment.
It's the same thing with this guy. It might be that he's the smartest dude in the room and his plan makes perfect sense.
But it's not sounding like it.
Because he doesn't know how to talk to people, he might end up screwing this up pretty bad.
I think one of the reasons Marvel is as huge as it is because it's the first time I've seen an executive executive to the level of Kevin Feige have that level of ability to host. Like, he knows how to deliver to his fans. Kevin Feige.
Oh, right.
He's effectively a host and an executive and a producer and a comic.
But you know what,
Kevin?
Exactly.
But Kevin Feige also. This was another major thing that Zoloff did wrong. So Kevin Feige was very much in communication with Alan Horn and Bob Iger.
Yeah,
very much so. Walter Hamada didn't even know what the hell was going on.
And Walter Hamada getting fired like in a press release.
Well, he didn't get fired yet.
Isn't he finishing up Black Adam?
Because he wanted to walk.
Yeah.
No, he didn't get fired.
That's good.
Because what happened was, from the report, is that they made this 10-year plan. He's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What's happening now?
Rough.
The guy who runs DC.
Yeah.
They go, wait. So what are we doing?
And DC was in one building until very recently. It's like, go to the next floor, talk to your fellow.
Right.
Like,
and Hamada's like, I'm leaving, and they're like, don't leave. Just wait till at least Black Adam. So maybe again, you look at it politics wise. Maybe there's a certain
power structure hierarchy.
But if there's a position, like if you come in and you're president, you're like, well, that person was in beforehand. I don't really like that person. I'm not going to confirm. I'm not going to talk to that person. And then that person goes, well, I'm pissed off. We'll finish that, and then I'll find somebody new.
I'm going to stay optimistic because I do think if we, like you said, if we zoom out in 5 years and we look back at this as when the shift happened,
it could be a huge win.
But until they get the narrative to people that are in it, like we are, like I can see how people that aren't as inundated with this, they don't know about a press conference call. They don't care about investor calls. They wouldn't even know what those words mean for a company, because why would they? They don't need to. For us, though, we're going to stay concerned until Blue Beetle drops and it has a cohesiveness, until they know what they're doing with Flash, until these things. And I think we should say, I wouldn't even say cautiously optimistic. I'm going to say neutral because I'm concerned. But at the same time, something had to change. I'm just worried that the way they're deciding to go about this change is scrap this, have these Venn diagrams, have a PowerPoint presentation, Discovery, get rid of American Pickle. These things look, love that movie. These things look like the worst case scenario.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? They literally are. Hey, you and I talked a month ago and we say like, what could happen? This would be the list of the worst case scenario.
Right. Well,
like this would be
we're almost in football season, bro, and my brain is straight up like, you 2-minute drill, you're on your own like 10-yard line and you start off with a false start. Like, you look really, really bad right now, so you better score because...
You know what? Sports is a great example. I don't know a lot about athletes. I know, my Patriots, myself. I know my teams, and I'm a fair weather fan to where like, oh, they're doing well. Yeah, like I don't know enough.
Sure.
If an athlete is going around causing crime, I probably hear about it at a point, but I don't follow it. But if an athlete is suddenly like felony arrest, there's kids on a farm, like I'm gonna start hearing about it.
And I think that was Winston's point earlier.
So what I'm saying is I think that we're hitting the iceberg shift to where if LeBron James had kidnapped somebody, I'd have heard about it.
But that stuff though, Coy.
But would that affect the game?
Right. But this is affecting the game.
That's the question.
But this is affecting the game because they what they've said now. When Zoloff came out and he's like, okay, 10-year plan, Flash, it's a go. And then Miller gets arrested and he's like, shit. so he goes, what do we do now? And then we'll hear the options. And this is basically what the options that we're hearing. So then allow me to present option 4, which I think it's a very expensive option and they're not going to do it, but maybe this is the best option. The option is, when you look at, they know that they're going to lose money potential. Now, the option 2 of recasting with a new scene is probably your best gamble. Red or black, and you might make some money, or you might break even, maybe, right? My option is going to cost you over $200 million, maybe more. However, what it allow you to do, it's going to try to help your 10-year plan. If Flash is the one that joins it, that starts it all and moves, and you know that they love it. They said from the test screenings and everything too, it's really good. If the script's that good, and Affleck's there, Keaton's there, then recast the fucker now. And do a Christopher Plummer, Kevin Spacey.
That's a full new movie.
It's a full new movie.
Yeah.
And you shoot the whole thing. Understand that you're going to lose, because if you do option 3, you're just losing $200 million. And if you don't put it on HBO Max, same thing. It's a write-off.
Right. But I think it's 5%.
That's what I'm saying. So
we're talking.
You're still massive loss.
Yeah.
So if you're going to make a massive loss, I don't think 3 should even be on the table of option 3.
I don't think
your 2 options should be the one that you guys are saying is option 2, which is probably the one that is most likely. Or this one where you reshoot the whole movie, you recast with somebody new, you make a new star, and you sign whoever that new person is. I think you got to go past Grant. I like him, but I think you go past him to build a new star, make him a little younger, reshoot the whole movie as it is, bring in Ben Affleck, bring in Keaton.
Yeah.
And so look, We know we're losing a lot of money.
Yeah.
But this was on the old regime anyway.
And
They're the ones
what's
that spent the
hard
money on
is
it.
if you're losing that money, it needs to then be a $780 million. Because now you're accounting for two.
Yeah, I know.
At this rate, with all the bad press, you need to hit a Billy, bro.
Yeah, just to be even. And what's hard is, like, you know, they're building a new universe. I don't know if it makes sense to have anything associated with the old stuff. If they're resetting versus rebooting, I've heard both language tossed around. What I would do, since there's comic canon for it, is do Crisis on Infinite Earths. I would literally just have one last big movie, beat Marvel to Secret Wars, have a giant cataclysmic event, end the CW Flash, bring Stephen Amell back, bring Henry Cavill back, end that universe, and then start fresh with the last scene be the new Justice League.
Did you
That's
hear
one $3 million
kind of
movie.
what was rumbling around last night that they're going
you were
to
in my 4-year-old's room?
what?
A lot of farts.
Whoa.
A lot of farts. She was farting on the plane, like letting off these big, horrible farts. I thought it was a lady next to me.
Oh my god!
And it was, and I said to her, I said, Maisie, I said, were you farting on the plane? She's like, yeah. It was so bad.
What'd you guys eat?
Everything.
Okay, you're on vacation.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, it was
Real-time
bad.
sound design.
But
That's what was rumbling last.
There was talks that they're trying to potentially make Black Adam the Thanos of the DCEU at this point. And
Hierarchy of power is about to change. I've been hearing about it.
That sounds like such a bad idea.
What's hard is, okay, so I think the strength of the DC films is that they feel so different on purpose. They let directors have the freedom that Phase 4 is now letting Marvel have, right? Like Sam Raimi, we've talked ad nauseum about Sam Raimi getting a Sam Raimi film, how you know, each of these movies is feeling different. I think that's a strength because the comic books feel different. I think they should have a Justice League universe as well as a Matt Reeves-esque Batman universe. I'm saying nothing connects to Matt Reeves' Batman. I'm not saying Robert Pattinson.
That's what they were doing, though.
But I'm saying they need to keep that element of it,
I agree,
as well as.
How do you put Joker 2 into this?
You don't.
You can't.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you need a DC Black Label, which is a different line of comic books. You keep things separate.
Can't
But like
connect
the
it.
other
You
thing,
shouldn't.
But you can, and the easy way is because it's freaking comic books. You just go, that's Earth 58.
That's what I'm saying. Keep them separate.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying Black Adam is going to be a rock movie. I think it can mix with Shazam, but I don't think it should mix with the rest of this new stuff. Because Black Adam is always going to have.
Well, it is though. But it is.
They're 100% doing
because
it.
they even said they shot a new
post-credit scene.
that connected all.
But I just think it's going to start to feel.
Yeah.
I think the strength of Marvel could be the weakness of DC, where people are waiting for connectivity, and that doesn't feel right.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is, the other thing you could do is you could still let them connect, but not make it a focal point. So if there's a point at which all of a sudden, almost like a Spider-Verse, we end up with The Rock in Matt Reeves' Batman world for half a second, and then we're gone. Fine. That's
going to feel so weird. Think about how
it would, but again, remember with Spider-Verse like that, I know because it was a comedy.
Yeah.
All of those Spider people are completely different.
Did you see DC's Super Pets?
Not yet.
I enjoyed it.
I've been so busy. Is it
I thought
good?
It was cute. But there's a great post-credit scene.
Okay.
I can spoil it for people. If you haven't seen it, you're going to get spoiled on Super Pets. There's a Black Adam post-credit scene.
Oh, that's cool.
With him live action?
No. Just in basically Black Adam's dog comes in at the end with Black Adam to Superman and his dog.
Oh, that's
and
cute.
Everything. It's a cool little scene, but it was a great scene. But before we move on, I do want to tell you guys also, no, not about that. That's great though. Storyblocks. And you guys have been hearing about Storyblocks, and I'm so glad that so many people have been trying Storyblocks, and I'm getting a lot of positive comments. If you're getting those comments, if you are getting it and you are liking it, please let me know. I want to know about it in the comments, please. Video is the most effective way to capture an audience's attention, and as a result, modern storytellers are always challenged with creating more video content at a higher quality, involving more voices in the process, and distributing on more platforms than ever before. So, for creators, you know that some of the barriers that you face are meeting output demands, there's time, there's budget, knowledge, creative inspiration, passion, burnout, mental health. It's all there. Storyblocks makes it possible for creators to keep up with the growing demands for modern content so you can bring all your stories to life and stop sacrificing your vision due to time, budget, or resources. Now, what I really like about Storyblocks in general, there's so many different access plans that they have. They have an unlimited access plan that gives you unlimited downloads of over the 1 million assets in their library. You try out multiple options quickly and find the perfect fit so you can create more and spend less without sacrificing quality. You choose a plan that works for you from their selection of flexible subscriptions that scale to give you all the content and tools you need to focus on creating and not just worry about budget. Now, if you go to bigthing.com, no, that's not true. I don't have a website. Storyblocks.com/bigthing. There you go. Storyblocks.com/bigthing. And I would try the unlimited plan, man. People are really enjoying it. I hope that you enjoy it. And for people who have been asking about over and all, how do I help the show? How do I help the show? I really like the show, and I want to help the show, support the show. Find something that we are talking about, sponsor-wise, that is right for you. Now, I think a lot of creators that are watching this show, Storyblocks is perfect for you. So check it out. The link's in the description, storyblocks.com/bigthing. Okay, I want to move on past all this because there's so much. It's incredible how much it is, and so there he is. There's Olaf to give him this big speech. Wakanda Forever, Black Panther. Now, originally I was going to lead the show, and I was even going to title the show this. I might just do a separate piece for it, but we talked about the other stuff so much, it'd be silly for me not to make that the main topic.
It's unprecedented, man. This never happened.
I know. It's not. So,
has there ever been a movie that's had that much poured into it that's in this much turmoil?
No, I know.
And there's never been a studio acquisition quite like this, because when Fox and Marvel happened, it was in like it was a flow. Like it worked out ish. Well, New Mutants notwithstanding, New Mutants was like 80 million compared to 200. Like, you know what I mean?
No, there's so much, and we'll probably get back into it before the show's over because we'll potentially bring up the Batgirl stuff as well too. But Wakanda Forever, that is coming out in November. People are very, very excited for this film, as they should be. It is the sequel to the very popular Black Panther, and so I'm going to really leave this topic. I'm going to pitch it to Winston and Coy, but I know that Coy, you were talking about who you think could potentially show up, because there's always these things where you have these post-credit scenes, and maybe even inside we know that Namor's coming in, and we know what that could potentially set up the X-Men. Mm-hmm. So I'll throw to you first, Coy. Who do you think and why will show up in the Black Panther sequel?
So I think Namor is going to be a bit of an anti-hero, like he is in the comic books.
I was about to slap you. I thought you were going to say, I think Namor might be in the film. And
I think Namor's going to be in it. I think
he could be.
Guys,
he might be in the water. He might be in the water.
Namor. Quit.
Yeah.
No, so I think Namor's going to be an anti-hero, and I think we're going to see a lot of interesting geopolitical ramifications of Wakanda getting a new leader, what that looks like from the rest of the world, whether the Atlanteans see that as weakness. We see that flooding scene in the trailer. We see all these things. And why that conflict arises, I think, is going to be a lot bigger than just like bad guy. I think that'd be a very weak way to introduce Namor, which they wouldn't do. Namor being the first mutant, I do think that's going to be a long-form element.
Is he officially the first mutant?
In the comic books, he's the first mutant ever.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
in an apocalypse, technically, but Namor claims it as
Namor's arrogance, a good call.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So that basically, I think that's going to be a lot like Ms. Marvel, where it builds greater macro into mutanthood. But what I think is going to be interesting with Black Panther is this is, if not the most mature, one of the most mature of the MCU properties, and not in the Deadpool sense, which is maturely immature, but like truly a grandiose epic that I think is going to bring us Doctor Doom, because I think we're going to get Latveria. I think we're going to get more geopolitical elements if there's more than one rival nation. So I think Latveria is going to be introduced, and I think through that we get Doctor Doom, at least a post-credit scene, which I think is going to bring us into Phase 5, where Kang is the villain of Phase 5, where we have a lot of timey-wimey goodness, but I think we're going to find out near the end of Phase 5, going into Kang Dynasty, that Doom is either working with him or pulling the strings, and I think we're going to have a Phase 5 and 6 overarching Doom story. I think the only way to make Doom as interesting as he needs to be and as ominous and bigger than Thanos is by having him pull the strings for a longer time. I also think Doom shows up in Agatha Harkness. I think we're going to have an element of Doom's mom, so I think you introduce him as soon as this November and play literally a 5-year game.
So let me ask you a question then when it comes to that, because if they are releasing that, then there's two ways. It either means, and I'm curious which one you think it is, it either means that they've cast Doom already, and that we'll find out who the actor is who's playing it through the post-credit scene, or it's going to be a Thanos situation, like they first did.
The mask, like he just stands.
And it's just going to be in the mask, and it's going to be in that like iron mask or whatever the hell he's got. And you do it that way, where you see the silhouette of him, and you do it that way. Which way do you think it's going?
I think they've already cast him, and I think that either we're going to find out in the post-credit scene, or maybe at D23.
It's kind of like what they did with Harry Styles.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like, hey, I'm here, I'm already established. I think that Doom, his first appearance, we should hear him. Like, I think we need that
needs
voice
more powerful
coming out of
than
him.
just kind of
exactly.
So you're saying Doom?
Yeah.
Winston, so you've got this movie coming out. Do you think that we're getting any big cameos, and will it be, because they've already shown X-Men they've already had the theme in X-Men and Ms. Marvel. So what do you think?
I like the Doom. I like the Doom nod. My three guesses are that we're either going to get Sue Storm, because we're essentially giving this moment of, we're going to introduce each one of the Fantastic Four to something, because there's rumors that the Thing might show up in She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Right.
So then this is an opportunity, because Sue's sort of relationship with Namor, you could potentially tap into that. Or I think you might get either of the two rumored other mutants that have been talked about in either Giancarlo Esposito or Taron Egerton, in that you might get, because now you're introducing mutants yet again.
Right.
You might get a cameo from either one of them that officially announces that cat, because sure, we've been talking about it. The fact that news has been coming out rapidly about either one of them potentially playing somebody, there is this nod, and especially with Giancarlo being like, well, they talked about Professor X, they talked about Magneto, they talked about Dr. Doom, and they talked about, what was the other, Dr. Ice?
He said Dr. Freeze.
Dr. Freeze. I was like, sir.
Yeah, I'm also wondering, like, how serious the conversations were if someone didn't correct him and be like, Mr. Freeze.
But knowing Giancarlo Esposito and how seriously he takes stuff like this.
Oh, he did. I think he might be misleading on purpose.
I think he did it on purpose.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
I would not be surprised if you get either one of them to pop in as whatever character they've been cast at. I mean, the Taron hasn't been tied to anything other than Wolverine. I know that's a lot of fan casting stuff, but these conversations are getting kind of serious. I think one of them shows up.
I hear Rogue's in. The rumor is Rogue's in the Marvels.
It would make sense.
So it'd be interesting if Rogue, post-credit scene leading into the Marvels.
They're really starting to place in the X-Men. So I think that, look, from what I've heard from you guys and what you guys have been saying, like, when it comes, like, I don't know enough about Namor. I knew Namor was, and like I said, and you don't have to correct me because I'm going to correct myself, that I was like, Namor's kind of like the Aquaman. Like, well, actually, he was before Aquaman. So I found that out through 7,000 comments. So that being said, what I have been paying attention to is the way the Marvel always kind of spices things up as they're leading into things. They've already been throwing this X-Men thing. They threw in the first kind of nod that you really got was in Ms. Marvel with the music. And now they just blatantly show you Namor, and if they're going to probably stick to the idea that this guy...
I imagine they'll at least refer to him as a mutant.
I think they definitely will. And I also find it funny, now that I think about it, every single one of these films post-credits, let's see, maybe not Shang-Chi, they didn't introduce anybody new. But
didn't they, though? They
did the Wong thing, making him effectively an event. Like, they did the Avenger kind of assemble moment, but no one knew.
But Eternals, you ended up not only with Ebony Sword, but Blade.
Yeah.
What was
as well as Star Fox,
and they also brought back.
Fox, yeah.
Well, they also brought back. It wasn't a post credit. You're talking post credits specifically,
where they decide that they're going to introduce somebody new and move along with that.
Right.
There wasn't anybody in Spider-Man, right? Am I crazy? The symbiote. The symbiote got left
Venom.
behind.
Right.
Yeah, that's a new character.
So that's a new character. Yeah. Multiverse of Madness. You ended up with
Charlize.
Yeah, exactly. And then
Eternals.
We had two in Eternals.
Blade and Star Fox.
Yep.
So at this point,
what about Thor?
And then Thor, Hercules. So with all of that, I genuinely think
building. Yeah. I think, like I said, Doom is either post-credit or in the movie, and then I think we might get an X-Men in a secondary post-credit. Yeah, and I love your Sue Storm idea.
I'm telling you, the way that they set this up, though, right now, it is getting me more excited for an MCU X-Men film because I love the X-Men films. I mean,
it's a great universe.
1, 2, Days of Future Past, like the whole, and because they've set up this multiverse, it's not taken away from anything. So when they start up this new one, I'm really excited the way that they're kind of piecing it together. So I do hope that they do start to explain more of the X-Men mythology inside of it. So I think it's going to be Professor X. that's going to show up.
It
Yeah,
would make
because
sense.
or Reed Richards. I don't know. I think it is going to be connected to either X-Men or Fantastic Four. I think you're both right.
Yeah.
So that's our.
I think it's a long game to Phase 6, and I think
Yes.
Phase 5 is going to be a lot more cohesive because of people being like, Phase 4 is disjointed. I'm really wondering if Phase 4 was meant to be longer, and then they just wanted to have like because these phases seem so much shorter now. 5 and 6, we've never mapped out this far.
Right.
So I mean, I think we'll see at D23 them spell out a lot of Phase 6, but I'm also wondering if they like insert new dates. I'd also be curious if they're like, hey, we've got these 8 movies, it's actually 10. Like they just
Right.
like and like add some stuff.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of intro stuff for that's going to.
Yeah. It's a few weeks.
Peaceful,
That's going to be a big
yes,
episode
right.
of Capes and Cowls.
It absolutely is. All right, well, let's move on though too, because we covered. We don't have much time left, and we covered 2 stories. Which well, you know, look,
Welcome to Capes and Cowls.
They were big stories.
Yeah, like unprecedented
they were big
overlap.
stories. We talked about that character. All right, well, just I guess carrying on. We spoke about Batgirl throughout that story in general.
It's just a shame.
It is, because she is a really good actress. She's a really good actress, and I think that what the rumors were that after the film was what I will say about her is that she, unlike Zoloft, had great PR etiquette.
The way she handled it, yeah.
She handled herself so classy. Now, there are a lot of people, there are people that we have worked with that are so horrible on social media. So horrible that if they're upset and angry, they go and they tweet out crap.
Yeah.
And they get themselves in, and nobody wants to work with them. It's like,
Right.
why do I want to work with that person when they're and she has every right to be upset.
Yeah.
She has every right. The guy who runs the studio basically said that the movie that she was involved in was garbage. And yeah, even though there's some people saying around the side that she was great in it.
Yeah, it's
and
so
that's
hard to hear. And I
course
can't
it
imagine putting on the suit and losing it.
Of course. It's got to be heartbreaking. But the thing with her was that she did so well. And unlike a lot of people who scream and yell and feel like, well, you know what? Then I'm going to get you through social media. She didn't do it.
Yeah.
She didn't do it. She took the high road and she said, no, I'm so proud of everything we did. And it's like, I became a massive fan of hers like that. Because that's how you handle yourself today on social media. You don't yell at people. You don't scream at people. You don't feel like, I'm going to get you with something now, too. I don't like the way that you did this. If we're working together and now we're not working together, well, I'm going to get you and get all the mob behind you. She didn't do that.
Yeah.
She could have. And she probably would have had a lot of people going, you know what? Yeah, get him. She didn't do the get him. She didn't do the get him, and good for her. Good for her.
What has she done prior to this? I'm not super
West Side Story.
Yes. No, not West Side Story.
no,
In the Heights.
Oh, thank you. So the other musical, I mixed those two up.
She was
Sorry,
in In the
Steven
Heights,
Spielberg.
right.
And
No, obviously that was big, but like she isn't a household name yet.
No.
And from someone that's been in this industry, we all have in different facets. Something's not a thing until it's a thing.
Right.
Like even with the contract signed, even with shooting, until you actually
hits the
see
screen.
yourself on the screen.
Yeah.
Well, she got paid. She got paid, so
Which
that's
is
good.
great.
That's good, but no, it's not.
I've been
It's
in
not
that
the same.
situation too.
I know.
But it's like you get paid, you shot everything, and then you show up and you're like, I'm in half the episode. I am.
It's
in
more
now
important to be
one
in the
scene.
thing than the money.
Let me throw this though at you
Long
guys
term.
though too, because the way that she handled herself, and the directors handled themselves well too.
Yeah, I was going to say the directors, they got insulted pretty directly.
and they did it. They did as well. So I don't want to take it away from them. But there was just something about her because she was kind of the first one out the gate in the way that she did it. Here is the thing that people aren't really talking about. Let's say the movie was awful. Let's say it was a terrible, terrible movie, right? And that it really shouldn't see the light of day, right? As far as and the tax write-off is the way that she handled herself might be the best thing ever, because doesn't matter how great of a person is. If she comes out in that movie and that movie's garbage and it's terrible,
Halle Berry seems great. Catwoman didn't help her.
right? And it's like, that movie comes out but Halle Berry had
an
a
Oscar
career.
winner.
Halle Berry had a career. Halle
Yeah.
Berry was okay
Right.
afterwards too. Even though she carried around a stink for a little bit, but she's Halle Berry.
Right.
This girl didn't have a career. So if the
Right.
movie's that bad, comes out, and it's like,
could
that's
tank
the
her
Batgirl
career,
girl.
yeah.
Doesn't matter how good she's in the movie.
Right.
If the movie stinks, so maybe for her, it was a blessing in disguise. Again, I haven't seen the movie. It could be a phenomenal movie just from the things that you're hearing behind the scenes. The thing I took away from it, I just became a massive fan of hers because, like I said, there are people that you don't know that handle social media terribly. There are people that we know that handle it terribly, that use it as a weapon. She did not do that. She chose not to use it as a weapon. She used it as a beacon of hope,
Like Batgirl.
positivity. So the way that she handled herself should be a lesson for everyone. That was such a classy way to do it.
It's the opposite of the PR that we're feeling about Warner Brothers.
Yes.
Because we're feeling like Warner Brothers isn't
They
navigating
did it wrong.
They're not
She did it
communicating.
right.
She's communicating. She's being positive.
I
just
love
want
her
to
now. I
hear.
love her.
I want to hear from Zaslav and the team that is being assembled something that feels more coherent than an investor call. Because an investor call is a voicemail effectively,
Right.
and we're not going to experience anything like that. I want to see graphics that aren't men and women separate. I want to feel
What's going on with fandom?
I don't know that there is a fandom.
There isn't one.
They're not doing one now?
But I mean, like, I don't know if there is
How do
going
you know?
forward.
It's already been announced. They're not
When?
doing it. A while ago. It's
No,
not.
no.
It's nowhere on the books. I
It wa-
promise you. I just read something about it.
You said a while ago. If you would have told
like
me
a month.
I talked to someone recently that would know, and they said there's no plans yet. There's not a yes or a no. It wasn't a definitive no.
What's hard is it's the end of the year soon. Like, and not,
Yeah.
I know it's the middle of the year, but you have to plan out New York Comic Con now and stuff effectively.
right.
So it's approaching the end of the year. We're talking about Wakanda Forever. You need to have this.
You very well might be right that it's not happening, but I don't think there's been a definitive.
But I think they need. I would love if DC came out for, again, the people in this top 10% of the iceberg of awareness, to have something to discuss that feels like a Hall H announcement. That feels like they need this flip the switch and say, like, here's what we're doing. And I want them to take their time. You don't need to tell me who your new Superman is, but I want to know what's happening.
Right.
And I think that's fair to the bad press to just kind of flip it. So we have stuff to talk about that isn't, because I don't want to shit talk. I want to feel good about the movement.
No, you're right. It's specific. So I just misread this. It's specifically that they have not announced it at all, and with essentially no calendar dates left.
Right.
That's the mess.
Right. That I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it didn't definitively. They didn't say it was going to happen.
Sure.
All right. So I guess we have one more thing we can talk about here before we move on. What's this one? Oh well, shoot! I can do that too. How much time you guys have? You guys got to get out of here, sir?
Yeah, like 10, 15.
All right, let's go because I do want to cover these two things. We got She-Hulk coming up because She-Hulk's going to be She-Hulk starts it all next week with She-Hulk and then Lord of the Rings and then Andor or Game of Thrones. Sorry, I missed Game of Thrones, but all four of those come out. Boom, boom, boom. Then Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
And then you just start going. She-Hulk kicks it all off.
Yeah.
Right. So I just mentioned recently when I was in Florida. I was talking about this. This goes back to the idea, like you would feel that in our circle, everybody knows about She-Hulk. Everybody's seen it. They're like, well, what is it? I was talking to people that just watch Marvel, watch also. Well, what? Even my brother, like, yeah, well, what's the tone of it? And then my friend, my childhood friend, his girlfriend watches all this stuff and is like, oh, I kind of heard of what is it? And I said, it's kind of like Ally McBeal in Marvel. And she's like, oh, that sounds like kind of right up my alley. So she watches all this stuff. So a lot of the audience finds out about it either the day before it comes out or after it's come out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I showed the trailer. My one friend who was like a curmudgeon, it's like, nah, I'm over Marvel. So he didn't like it. I knew that he wouldn't. And he knew he wasn't going to watch it before he even watched it. My brother, who likes more of the lighthearted, fun stuff, loved it. Thought the trailer was great. She loved it. Right. So they both loved it. I watched the trailer again. I hadn't seen it in a while. Thought it's a really good trailer. It really is. I'm still, out of those four of those shows that I mentioned, it's my least.
Sure.
Like, because you guys know me, like, I don't mind humor in it. People always,
As long as that joke.
as long as it's balanced. And this already looks like what I will say about this show that I it's telling you what it is.
Yeah.
It's not. Thor surprised you and Thor said, oh, no, this is a full-on, this is a Saturday Night Live movie.
Right.
That was never a thing. She-Hulk, this is the first time you've seen it. And then I was watching some animated stuff. You'd be proud of me. I was going through and watching animated. And it seems like that's what it was.
That's the character.
It
literally breaks the fourth
roasts
wall.
people. She breaks balls. Like, that's what it seems. So I'm like, okay. So they're basically doing what made the comic popular.
Right.
I still don't love the CGI yet, but we're not there yet.
But also, I appreciate the studio coming out and backing their
What did they say? What did they say?
They essentially were like, look, man, a show like this takes time. It was time to put a trailer out. And they're not out here like sweatshop working people, but they are working insane hours. Right. So, like, if we get to the actual release and it looks like this, fine. You want to roast somebody, you want to come at them, that's one thing. But the team is working nonstop up to that point,
so
and we had to put something out.
And at the end of the day, She-Hulk is going to inherently be harder to get right because the Uncanny Valley, because she looks more like a human than the Hulk does. The Hulk has different features and all those things.
Huge blockhead.
Yeah, so the Hulk is basically a Hulk, and She-Hulk is a green woman that's tall. And then the secondary thing is the models have been done for Hulk and Abomination for years, putting them and remastering them, and that's going to be years of development versus months.
And then like you said, she is a green hulking woman walking around, right? Captain America, you put a costume on him. You got to do a little bit of like stuff, but same thing with Ms. Marvel. Yeah, you got to do the light effects, but you don't have to. You have to fully change her.
And by the way, Hulk was not easy to get for a while. People forget. Hulk was
those first two Hulks.
Those first two bad. I mean, people were not loving like the Ang Lee one and the other stuff. As Hulk was coming out, they were like, "Oh, they're ever going to get it right?" And now they got him right. So I'm aware of that. Like, I just don't know because, and I was even talking to someone recently saying how Hawkeye was like their favorite. I think it was the same two people I was just talking about. How Hawkeye was like their favorite show. It's one of my least favorite. And it's not. That show was pretty consistent for the most part. I didn't like the way they did Kingpin. I thought they did him dirty. And I think that there's just and then we'll end with that. Speaking of Kingpin and Punisher and all that, I saw your little tweet exchange with the fans about that one. But
Very curious.
Yeah. But I will say that I am curious about She-Hulk. People are like, well, why are you going to watch it if you don't think it's going to be good? I didn't think WandaVision was going to be good. I loved WandaVision. Yeah, I didn't think there's a lot of shows. That I
get crap for loving Loki, and like that's not what a lot of people love. And it's my favorite one by a lot.
Loki's my favorite. I didn't think that I was going to like The Sandman. I loved the first episode of The Sandman.
Oh, I haven't started yet.
I haven't started. My homie devoured it in 36 hours.
I would have probably tried it. I watched it with my brother. He was on his phone. His fiance and I watched. The three of us were sitting on the couch and like we were watching it, and I saw him on his phone. I'm like, let me watch it. I thought she was sleeping. She's like, no, I'm watching it.
Oh,
and
great.
She was really into it. So we're. I love that show. I was like, you guys know me. I'll go into this if I think it's going to stink. And if it's great, I'm not just going to say something stinks.
Right.
If She-Hulk turns out, I could come back here in 2 weeks and say, dude, that first episode was hilarious. That was a really good show.
Are you guys going to have seen any before next Thursday?
When do they come
Screeners are out.
Oh, they out already?
Yeah.
I don't know. I got to check. I got to check my account then. Maybe
okay, so I'm doing a reaction with the Real Rejects. So I'm starting it tomorrow.
What?
Well, there you go. Yeah, no,
so I'll have seen it. She-Hulk. I'll have seen at least one or two.
I probably have it. I got to look.
Okay.
Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah. And it premieres on Monday.
It does. Is it this Monday coming out? No,
like in a couple days.
I thought it premieres on the
no, the premiere.
The actual
yeah. So if you guys want to go to that, you can see the first two.
Got it. Okay. Anyway, so She-Hulk's coming out. The thing that I was going to mention with so I saw this thing where Rosario Dawson was at some Comic-Con or whatever.
C2E2.
Whatever it was. Yeah. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, and she was there. And what the hell is that?
It's a Chicago Trade Expo, I think.
Okay.
Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo.
That's what it is.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Okay, yes.
I've never been. That's clever. I never put that together until this moment.
So she's walking, and some fan or something the day before says to her, that tells her the Punisher got confirmed, whatever it was, right? So she's on stage, and she had mentioned to the audience, she said, well, the Punisher... I just found out yesterday that the Punisher is going through, and
John Bernthal's coming back.
So I'd love to work with him again. So everybody they're like, oh my God, she just confirmed it. That hasn't been confirmed before. And then she walked it back and said, no, I just heard that from a fan. Rosario Dawson's one of my favorite, and she is self-proclaimed terrible at this. She's spoiled stuff with Ahsoka. She's spoiled. She got to stop talking too, because
she doesn't get that Tom Holland PR, but she's got that Tom Holland PR.
Yeah, I'm not saying that she's lying. I very well think that it maybe was a fan that said that to her, but even if that's the case, don't say that on stage. You got to you know she knows well enough. She's not
what that sentence is.
She's not a rookie.
Yeah,
she at this point she should go, hey, is this because Josh Horowitz interviewed who's the actor that's playing Kang?
Oh, Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors was on the carpet with Josh, and Josh, it was right after they announced the Kang thing, and he hadn't heard about it. Jonathan hadn't heard about it, so he's on the and Josh says to him, you're in Avengers now, and you're doing this, and you're going to be doing that. You're going to be an Ant-Man, and you're going to be in all this. And he's like, what? Like, he's not saying anything. And then his publicist is like, they announced it. And he's like, oh, they announced it? He's like, yeah, I'm in that. And
that's how you handle it.
That's how you handle it.
The funny thing is, too, I'm not saying that Rosario hasn't been doing interviews for a long time. I know she has. Jonathan Starr is rising right now.
Yeah.
So you know he's paying attention to all of
it. Crossing T's and dotting I's.
And he doesn't want to mess anything up. He's going to be the big bad.
And like I ran into John Bernthal, I told you guys a couple weeks ago. I don't want to be the person that accidentally finds anything out. I avoided Punisher like the plague. Yeah. Like, I didn't want to talk about Punisher. Yeah. I talked talked about the comic book. I talked about how much he clearly read certain arcs. We talked about the books. I didn't want to hear a single thing that would make me liable for information I don't want to accidentally have. Because I don't want to be talking to you guys and be like, yeah, you know when he's coming back. Oh, I don't want to be in Rosario Dawson's spot. And that's why I tweeted, like, I wait for a secondary source as best I can because A, it's true and she shouldn't have said something, or B, it's not true and she shouldn't have said something. And no matter what, I don't want to be getting Rosario Dawson. I don't want to cause more stress for her. She seems lovely. I don't want to retweet something that's going to get her more pressure.
I totally get it. So who knows if it's going to happen? And I do happen to think he's going to be back.
Oh, I think so, but I like that I think and don't know so.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that was, I think this is the very last thing right here. Green Lantern, I guess, is still, they're going forward with the show. Do you know anything? Do you know anything about this?
Yeah, they cast a few people as various Lanterns about a year and a half ago. And they are like, the TV, cast members. And I think it's not Hal Jordan. I think it's like other Lanterns. I think they need to go Jon Stewart as the lead. I think that seems to be the plan. It seems like they were like, they cast a guy as Guy Gardner. They cast other supporting core. But it sounds to me like they're going to do an actual space cop show. So they'll have plural cop. But I think Jon Stewart as the lead is what they're doing.
I would love that. I would even love a scenario if they either I would love just Jon Stewart all the way through, but if you either want to make each episode follow a different Lantern, so if it's like this one's Guy, this one's John, this one's Jessica.
And then you Magnolia it and they come back together?
Absolutely. You could do that. Kind of like, for me, I was going to go Animorphs.
Oh, yeah.
Or season 1 or book 1 of Green Lantern is Jon Stewart. Season 2 is Guy.
That's cool.
I think that either one would be.
And then they intertwine, like they come back for smaller roles, and that way you build out the universe. Because I think what they should be looking at with the greater DC universe, this 10-year plan, is what the strength of Marvel is the cosmic and local. What the strength of Marvel is everyone does feel like they can mesh. We saw with Guardians of the Galaxy, when that came out, I loved it more than I expected, but I also was like, wait, is this going to fit with Iron Man? Like, how will they do this? And then the strength of Marcus and McFeely and the Russo brothers is they balance those tones, I think, the best. I still think the best Thor is Infinity War and Endgame Thor because it's a mix of Taika and Branagh. And I think that's really important. What I think DC needs to be looking at is, hey, we want to make sure our movies feel different but cohesive. We need our space cops. We also need Superman to be the Boy Scout that we haven't really gotten to see him be. We need Batman to be amongst gods and know that he's a human, so that feels tangible. I think if they're going to reset or reboot, they need to focus on tone more than anything else. So if they're starting this Green Lantern show, they need to go, okay, this is what we're doing. How does that relate blankety, 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 blank? They need someone to go, what is the tone I want people to feel, and how can that work for this other thing when they meet?
Yep. All right, listen. So much that we've talked about here today. We got the Green. Do you have any thoughts on the Green Lantern?
Just that. I genuinely hope that Jon Stewart plays a prominent role, and I would absolutely love a situation where we're just following different Lanterns either episodically or season wise. I think that would just be a really smart move because everybody has their favorite Lantern and they're all very different. And I would like to explore them all. Like Hal Jordan's fine, but for me, he's kind of the most boring personally.
He's the Golden Age take. It's just like any other Golden Age character. They were writing heroes to be approachable. They didn't have the characters established enough to add the nuance and depth we expect, so the characters don't get the chance to be more interesting.
And he could be interesting later on when he starts doing some evil stuff, but like, dude, Kyle's more interesting to me.
Kyle Rander's my favorite Lantern.
Kyle, John, and Guy are all more interesting than Hal Jordan. So.
You're speaking German to me, but
you'll find out.
I want to learn German.
That's why we're here. That's why we're at Capes and Cowls.
Nine.
That's how many Lanterns I want.
That's right. All right. We had a lot to talk about here today in Capes and Cowls. Good episode. This is kind of our first official episode. It's our first official episode, by the way, in studio.
Yes.
So we did it.
Here we are.
So if you're brand new to the show, every Friday, unless we do the rewatch, by the way, Capes and Cowls will be on every Friday with me, Winston, and Coy. If you haven't already, do it. Subscribe to the channel. As I mentioned, you guys are going to have some big announcements coming up very, very soon. Help us get to 70,000. The She-Hulk reviews will be coming out next week. We're probably going to, if all of us see it, maybe we'll do a full-on episode next week on She-Hulk. If not, we'll definitely be covering it next week for sure. Podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. Make sure you do that. Leave your comments. Help us out on the algorithm as well. And that's it. Follow Coy, follow Winston, and we'll see you guys on the flip side. This is Capes and Cowls. Peace.